I have really been a storyteller for a long time. I've always loved telling stories. Martin Scorsese and other directors have said that 90% of directing is casting. And I remember very well the first time that I had to fire an actress. It was very frustrating. She wasn't memorizing her lines. And I was actually 5, and she was my cousin. And she still holds a grudge against me, I think, but whatever, she'll get over it. I've been doing this for a long time. I've always loved telling stories. I've always loved telling stories cinematically. And one of the things that was one of my goals early on was to do a feature film by the time I turned 21. And so when I was in college, I wrote a script, got a whole team together, and I somehow convinced a bunch of my friends to go through. I had actually 30 people staying at my parents' house and a friend's house. We had RVs out front, and we were creating this whole production. And it was a lot of work, but it was also a lot of fun. And for those of you that are in film, you might know the feeling when you've worked really hard on something and the screen goes black and it's the first time you're screening it. And this was a test screening with friends, family, and we showed it. It was 120 minutes long. Some of the words that came out of it were unwatchable, boring, horrible, and it just felt like this crushing failure, because this is something that I've literally been working on for 3 years, was my dream, and it just was falling flat completely. And one of the things that I had to do the next day was going back to the drawing board. Okay, how do I look at this differently rather than just accept defeat on this? And so we ended up taking basically the middle of the film, that became the beginning. We basically made a new ending, reshot a couple things, and a year later I was accepting the Student Emmy Award for that same project. So it reminds me of a time that I was on a date one time, and it was the first time I'd been with this person, and they were trying to give me directions, and I had GPS, and I just kept getting distracted, and I kept making the wrong turn no matter what I was doing. But ultimately, I knew what our destination was, but the GPS kept rerouting us every time, and we eventually got there. So knowing what your destination is important, and finding different ways to get to that destination is also important. And I think right now we're in a time in the industry where technology is changing, where lots of things are happening that are causing us to have to rethink how we do things. And for me this year, that was a big part of starting the conversation with Tommy and Videonics. And we were needing a new space because our space in our old building was getting totally gutted and redone, so our lease wasn't going to be renewed. So we had to come up with something and some sort of change. And so having this conversation and finding our strengths and finding out what worked is something where, again, we knew the destination, but how we get there might change. And at the beginning of the pandemic, we were called by HP to do virtual events. And we were actually the 27th call that HP called trying to do virtual events in April of 2020. And all the other production companies were like, this is going to be over in 2 weeks. We don't want to totally readjust our business model. I called some of my same friends actually from that college production. We're like, hey, we need to figure this out. Well, next thing you know, we're working with HP, we're working with Meta, we're working with Andreessen Horowitz, because we took that leap of faith. And Mark, who's here, his whole job for literally like a month was trying to get these drop kits to all these different places. We had one stuck in Madrid for a crazy amount of time by customs. And then as we started going back into in-person events, we started taking it on the road and building a studio in hotel conference room where we were creating these and building these virtual events for HP. And actually last week, we were here in HP filming, and we had our talent here in this room filming in front of the LED wall. So the LED wall has been a really big thing for us and has changed how we work and gives us a whole new opportunity for ways to do that. When we're out on the road and out doing events, one of the ways that we're able to do that is to create content that goes on LED walls. So we did an event, which we're going to watch a video for here in a second, in Vegas at the Fontainebleau, where we were creating, essentially you'll see lots of LED walls throughout the space. We were in charge of creating all that content for all those walls, as well as capturing all the event footage that you see. And so our team was doing all of that, so we'll watch that video now. So you can see kind of how the work that we do really can adapt and change a lot. And it really started in doing those simple drop kits and helping people film them on Zoom. We at Chronicle have done a lot of really amazing work over the years. And if you get a chance, there are these books laying around. But we have done a lot of cinematic content for lots of different companies, and you can check it out and see more of our work there. But being from Kentucky, one of the things that we do and utilize a lot is bourbon, which you all know. And so being able to do shoots with bourbon and being able to have an LED wall like this really allows us, we're in kind of stage one of this right now with the LED wall. So being able to create these different environments very quickly, be able to match what's happening on the LED wall. Our phase two, we've actually already purchased the LEDs to double the size of the LED wall. And we're able to do more and more things with that and be able to move you into a bar scene rather quickly. And so being able to transform and be able to move around worlds really quick. One of the things that the next phase we'll also be able to do is motion tracking. So we'll be able to track our camera and the background will actually shift with Unreal Engine. Some of the other things we'll be able to do is for our car driving scenes. This is something that we're also getting additional tiles for, to where when you have a car, we can pull it into the studio here, and in the background, you'll be able to have all the reflections and everything with the car moving while you're sitting here. So another cool thing we're excited about. And then also, if you want to go to our night patio scene, being able to bring in foreground elements also helps you to be able to do things relatively quickly, where it helps sell it to have those in-person type things. You're also going to hear from Max Moore here in a bit about a music video they shot in here last month, and be able to help sell that and blend those reality with different sets. Another thing that we utilized as part of that is being able to add a sun. So when we do that, the cool thing about these types of scenes, we've been able to, Eric, if you let me know when you're ready. And for those of you sitting in the center, I apologize, you might get blinded here in a second, so by our sun. But we have the ability to actually pop out these LED tiles. Yep. And then have a light behind it, which brings in a lens flare and it sells that reality of feeling like that you're actually seeing the sun. There's things we'll do to fine-tune that, obviously, when we're doing a shoot, but being able to help blend those worlds is something that's really cool. For those of you that are film geeks, it's a 1.9 wall in terms of pixel pitch, and it also, like I mentioned, we'll be expanding it so it actually can curve or be in straight formation. Then you can see this just pops right back in, and it goes back the way it was. So that's a little bit about the LED wall. And you know, at the beginning, I was talking about creating my first film, and part of the reason I was able to do that, I was lucky. I had a lot of resources around me. I was part of a school that gave me a creative community and people that I could tap into to work with. And really, that's why we're so passionate about Studio C, because it is giving us the ability to be able to create and begin to cultivate that community here, to be able to give filmmakers in the Louisville area access to equipment rentals and studio space that they might not be able to otherwise have. And the LED wall is a big part of that as well. Looking at what do other studios around here not offer. We're trying to add to the community, not take away from what other people are doing. And so just very excited that all of you are here tonight. Thank you all so much for coming, and excited to keep the conversation going. Thanks, guys.